Would you rather be a guard or a prisoner?
I don't think I have the qualities to be a guard.
Prisoner.
Prisoner, I guess.
Prisoner sounds like it would be a little less work.
Prisoner.
Why's that?
Nobody likes guards.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. This experiment will be an extension of my research into the effects prisons can have on human behavior.
You're going to be pleased to know that you all have been chosen to be the prison guards.
But under no circumstances whatsoever are you to physically assault the prisoners in any way. So remember, just as you were watching the prisoners, my graduate staff and I will be watching you.
All right, gentlemen, we're gonna have ourselves a lot of fun.
Rule number 1, prisoners must remain silent.
This is an exercise period.
Okay, is it just me, or are these guys taking this thing a bit too seriously? Why don't you give me 20 push-ups?
Look at this guy. Thinks he's John Wayne or something.
You address me as Mr. Correctional Officer.
This might be an interesting 2 weeks after all.
Why didn't you make up your bunk, 8612?
I did, Mr. Correctional Officer.
Well, that's not what I see.
Hey, what are you doing? It's just me now!
What was that?
You just hit him. You're not supposed to hit him.
Should we step in?
No, let the guards figure it out. Let's see where it goes.
Good evening, gentlemen. How about we make this one a night to remember?
This is all real. They won't let you go. They won't let us leave.
Those are not prisoners. Those are not subjects. Those are boys, and you are harming them.
Please! Let me out of here! I want out! I want out now!
You thought you were gonna get some playtime in the yard, boy? Is that what you thought this was gonna be?
I had no idea it would turn out this way.
So I will follow this up with a presentation of my journey from creating evil, as you saw in the prison study, to now doing the opposite, create inspiring everyday heroes with my new project, the Heroic Imagination Project. And before I begin, our program is well established in Poland. If you go to www.hip, HIP is for Heroic Imagination Project.org.Poland, PL for Poland. And curiously, although our program is really academic, we have lessons that I have developed using social psychology and cognitive psychology. Our trainers in Poland are from Motorola. That we did training of their trainers, and now they go around to schools all over Poland delivering our message. So again, it's if you check out what we're doing, it's just hip.org.pl. And anyway, I want to thank Adita Corona for inviting me. Adita is on the board of directors of our San Francisco-based Heroic Imagination Project. Okay, here we go. Okay, so my journey from creating evil to now inspiring heroism. And I will try to talk quickly. I have 19 minutes and 25 seconds. And I'm glad to be here at your PDD conference. And it's really mastering product mindset. And I'm going to talk to you about mastering your own mindset, developing a growth mindset. So we begin with the whole issue of evil. People have been curious about evil, what makes good people go wrong, for centuries, theologians, politicians, many people. And what I was able to do is focus on 3 types of evil. There's evil in people. This is what psychologists usually study. Personal disposition, psychopaths, and we call these bad apples. But what I add, as you'll see in a moment, the social and physical environment that could shape good people to do bad things, and that's really the bad barrel. What has been ignored, not only in psychology, but really in business, is the systemic evil. These are organizational influences, political, economic, cultural, and legal. and these are the bad barrel makers. So really, when you want to study any kind of evil, we really have to analyze it at these three levels: person, situation, and system. And I wrote a book, 1977, The Lucifer Effect. I know it's in Polish. It helps us understand the nature of evil. The book is about how good people turn evil. And the first 16 chapters are about the prison experiment, and I'll mention a little bit about that more, but also about the abuse of American soldiers in Abu Ghraib prison. I have a little bit about the Holocaust. I was a lecturer in Auschwitz about the Holocaust. But the last chapter is about how do we create ordinary heroes. So the classic example of situational evil that I created in the Stanford prison experiment, we wanted to get bright, intelligent college students from all over the United States who happened to be in the area of Stanford University. Stanford is on the west coast of the United States. 75 people answered the ad. It said wanted college students for prison experiment would go 1 or 2 weeks. Of the 75 people who answered the ad, we gave personality tests, and we picked 24, most normal, most healthy, and then we randomly assigned, half to be guards, half to be prisoners. And this is what they look like. The prisoners, we took away their identity, we made them numbers, as you do in a real prison. So we took away their name, and they just became a number. They had to know the number and know the number of the other prisoners, and the guards had attractive military uniforms with symbols of power. Volume.
Conducted a revolutionary experiment here in the bowels of Stanford University in the United States. It rocked the world of psychology. A group of students were divided randomly into prisoners and guards and lived in a makeshift jail. The prisoners immediately became submissive, and the guards became cruel.
Not only not getting a cigarette, but for as long as the cell is blockaded,
Within a week, Phil Zimbardo's prison was inhumane, and the experiment had to be cut short.
So, systemic evil is worldwide. It's poverty, genocide, and curiously, in many nations throughout the world, slave labor and sex trafficking are big businesses. But these are evils of action. There's another kind of evil we don't think about, the evil of inaction, not doing the right thing. And for me, the biggest example now is that we are facing climate change disaster. And many nations are indifferent about it. Most nations have not done anything to minimize carbon dioxide emissions in the air, in the sea. And this is the evil of inaction. And in America, it's promoted by our president, by our evil president, Donald Trump, who said he does not believe in climate change. And when he became president, he eliminated the Environmental Protection Agency, an agency formed to protect Americans from bad things in the environment. And he fired all the environmental scientists. And why did he do it? Because he gets money from the oil and coal companies, and everybody knows that. So the oil and coal companies are the enemy of everyday people because they are polluting the air because that's what their product does. So I want to give you an example which I found amazing recently. I begin by saying the Chinese government kills 1 million of its men annually. It encourages men to smoke. They make smoking masculine. So 54% of all Chinese men smoke regularly. And because the image is masculine, only 2% of Chinese women smoke. That's the biggest gender gap anywhere in the world. So that means 320 Chinese men smoke regularly, meaning 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes a day. Why did they do it? They make 605 billion yen a year, so it's a huge, huge profitable company. So here's a government without a positive mindset. And because the government owns the media, they prevent any anti-smoking campaigns. All the evidence says that by 2030, 2 million will die, and by 2050, 3 million will die of smoking-related diseases. But the question is, what do they do with the money? Oh, good things. They create schools, they create housing. And here is a slogan painted on a school in Sichuan province in China. The smoke, now little children going to the school, they read that sign in Chinese which says, "Ingenuity is the fruit of diligence, but tobacco will help you succeed." So little children going into school are now getting a mindset, a negative mindset, that smoking is good, rather than smoking causes lung disease, and ultimately smoking will kill many people, especially men. So my research has proven that there are situations that make ordinary people do bad things, but are the situations and systems that can make ordinary people do good things. And that's the main focus today. So I interviewed our ex-president, Barack Obama, who is actually a wonderful president, really smart, intellectual, certainly compared to the current one. And I asked him, do you think that to become a hero, you must be a special person? And he's going to give an example of a woman, a black woman, living in the south of America named Rosa Parks. Ordinary woman who was a seamstress. She made dresses for rich white women or tailor their dresses. And he said, no, this woman was a hero, and then he says why.
You know,
louder.
What's remarkable about history is ordinary people doing extraordinary things. You know, last year Rosa Parks passed away. And you know, I remember sitting on this stage with world leaders and Bill Clinton and senators and governors and thinking we were all paying homage to a seamstress who had transformed the country and helped transform the world. You know, we never know sort of how our actions are going to ripple over time. But each of us can take some responsibility for making sure that we are pushing a little bit in the direction of justice, in the direction of equality, and the direction of tolerance. When we do that, we may surprise ourselves with the amount of influence that in fact we have just by standing up or speaking up.
So that's the key message. We should be surprised at how much influence each of us have by being willing to stand up, speak out, certainly against injustice, and for positive things in the world. So who was Rosa Parks? As I said, she was a seamstress, a dressmaker in Atlanta, Georgia, which is the South, and for rich white ladies. One day she got on a bus, and in those days all the buses said white section, colored section. And she was tired and she sat down, didn't notice the white section. The bus driver stopped and said, "You must go to the colored section." She said, "No, I paid the same money. I refuse to go move." The bus stopped, they called the policeman, they took her to jail, and there's a picture of her as a prisoner. Imagine to be a prisoner because you didn't want to sit in the colored section. And because she refused, because she went to jail, the man in the back is Reverend Martin Luther King. They used that example as what was wrong with segregated transportation. And there was a big movement in all of the United States because of her. And they changed the law in America that there can be no segregated transportation of buses or trains or planes or anything. So here's a woman who, well, she refused to stand up to give her seat, and in this way really changed the world in America. So here's a cartoon that a student made of me, which says, "What is the Heroic Imagination Project?" A project we created in San Francisco 10 years ago, and as I said, is really vibrant throughout Poland, because I'm working with Professor Agnieszka Wilczenska. If you want to stand up so they can see who you are. Thank you. Sound up.
Hello, I'm Philip Zimbardo, President and founder of the Heroic Imagination Project. Our main focus is promoting the idea that heroes are ordinary people who take extraordinary action in challenging situations in their lives. Effective heroes do the right thing when other people are doing the wrong thing, or more often when they're doing nothing, and also to expose evil in all of its many forms as a whistleblower. We believe heroism begins in the mind, begins with thinking about yourself as a hero, thinking about yourself as having an inner hero that we will help express through our lessons, our ways of rethinking the nature of good and evil.
So, in addition to that message, I encourage you to think about presenting your message by a cartoon. you get so much information in such a short time, and it's always attention grabbing. And so whenever I give talks to students who are in art or media, I say, take time to learn how to do cartoons. So HIP, Heroic Imagination Project, the abbreviation is HIP. We're a nonprofit organization. We use social psychological lessons and cognitive lessons to train youth and adults to stand up, speak out, and take wise and effective action to change the world. Exactly what President Obama said. And again, what he said is, what we do for good or for bad has a ripple effect. When people notice that you are doing the right thing, it is more likely they will do the same. When people see you doing the negative thing, you create a negative ripple effect. So when students see other students cheating, they are more likely to cheat. When people see you crossing the street against a red light, there's research that shows they're more likely to cross the street also. So you may not be aware of it because people are always observing you. So the whole message is do the right thing and be a hero in your town, in your family. So a hero acts. What is a hero? A hero is someone who acts on behalf of others in need. Somebody who's hurt, somebody who's suffering, somebody who's handicapped. Or it also means you defend a moral cause. The problem with doing research on heroism, heroes are always modest and humble. They always disown the label. People who've done extraordinary things say, no, I did what anyone could do. Not true. They did something special. So heroes are ordinary, everyday people it's your actions that are extraordinary. And as I said, heroism creates a positive ripple effect on others and then throughout the world. So we have created educational programs. Each lesson is 3 to 4 hours, and it has cartoons, it has videos, but mostly it engages the students, engages the workers to think about, in a very personal way, what this means to you. So our lessons are interactive. We're in colleges and high school, now corporations, and many public organizations and community groups. So we have 3 main lessons. Developing a growth mindset, and this is the one that's most important for you. Combating the bystander effect, meaning in a situation where 2 or more people don't help somebody in distress, then it creates a norm of doing nothing. And our new lesson is prejudice reduction, how to transform prejudice and discrimination into understanding and acceptance of people who are different from you, different in skin color, different in religion, different in ethnicity. So these are our lessons, and I said each one is 3 to 4 hours, and you license our lessons for a small amount of money, but then we also provide trainers. And as I said, here we use Motorola. In other countries, going around the world, I go and do the training of 20 to 25, 50 people at a time. So here we are worldwide. We are in only the western part of the United States. I grew up in New York, so I got to go back to my hometown and bring our lessons there. But our biggest program, our most vibrant program, surprisingly, is in Budapest, Hungary. It's in 1,000 high schools. More than 10,000 teachers are teaching our lessons on a regular basis. We're in London, in Porto, Portugal. I said in Krakow and Warsaw, Poland. And I'll mention in Sicily, my family is Sicilian. I have an educational foundation there. And I'll mention something very interesting there. We are in Bali, we're in Tehran, in Australia, in Prague, Buenos Aires, and now Bratislava. And so, in all these countries, they license our lesson. Of course, they translate them in their own language. But in Sicily, what's interesting is, for me, about 4 years ago, when every country in the world said, we want no migrants, the Sicilian government in Palermo said, we will accept 100 African youth, young men and women ages 17 to 19, and they came and they put them in nice housing, gave them clothes, taught them Italian customs. And now we put them in our program, we train them in our lesson, and now we make them teachers. They go into Italian high schools and primary schools to teach a lesson. So now they have new self-esteem. They're not migrants, they are teachers. And then we give them, like for each lesson, maybe 50 euros, half of which they have to send home. So now their parents are proud of them. Not that they abandon their family, but they're working to support their family. So for me, this is such a good luck story. And as I said, I go there every year. I meet these young African teachers. So these are black Muslim teachers teaching white Catholic kids, and everybody loves our program. So what does our future look like? For me, peace replaces war, compassion rules over fear, understanding and acceptance overcome prejudice and discrimination, and heroes dominate villains. With that, I thank you for your attention and your caring. Ciao.